sales is the most lucrative skill in the world, period. The problem is most sales advice out there today is outdated, cheesy, and can even keep you from getting the deals that can make all the difference in your career. This is the No BS Sales School, a podcast for entrepreneurs and salespeople who want to master the skill of selling without all the BS. Welcome to the No BS Sales School podcast. I'm your host, Walker McKay. I want to tell you a story today, just a cheesy, simple little story that might help you focus on where you need to be focused. I'm going to tell this story where how you can figure out where you need to spend your time, kind of help you figure out maybe even who your ideal client is, who your ideal prospect is, and what you can do about those, what you can do to keep them and go get more. So here's a story. A man lives way out in the woods, and he's got to feed his family. And he says there are a whole lot of squirrels in the woods. And so he grabs his shotgun, and he leaves the house, and he walks all day, and he comes back after shooting 5 or 6 squirrels. And he comes back, and he skins them, and he cleans them, and he cooks them, and he feeds his family one meal. And he gets up the next day and he walks all day and he shoots again 5 or 6 squirrels, skins them, cleans them, cooks them, feeds his family one meal. Day 3, day 4, day 5 go by and he says, man, this is bullshit. Too hard, feet hurt, having to go further and further to kill squirrels. Nobody's getting full. This sucks. So the next morning he wakes up and says, I'm going to change things around. I'm going to go kill an elephant because I can kill one of those elephants and I can feed the family for a damn 2 years. To hell with this squirrel hunting stuff. So he gathers all the stuff up takes to go kill an elephant. And he walks out the door and he's gone. And a couple of days go by and his son says, man, I don't know when Dad's coming back. There are no elephants nearby. They're hard to kill. He's as likely to get killed by one as kill one himself. How the hell will he drag it back? How the hell do you cook elephant meat? Do we even like elephant meat? The son says, you know what? There are a lot of deer in the woods too. So he grabs his rifle, climbs a tree that afternoon, gets lucky. First day, shoots a deer. Clearly not a McKay hunter, right? Shoots a deer, drags it back, skins it, cleans it. Able to feed the family for 2 weeks. Goes out again 10 days later to shoot another deer. Now, you already know where this story's going. You've already heard this. You're like, get to the point. Why you tell me this? Think about your clients, customers, people are buying from you now, and your prospects as squirrels, deer, and elephants. Squirrels are the tiny ones. They're little. They'll keep you busy. And maybe you're making big margin on them, but it ain't big money, right? Maybe you're making 100% markup on them, but it ain't big money. And they're highly service intensive and they desperately need your help and they appreciate you very much. But they'll wear you out. People with a book full of squirrels, onesie, twosies, little ones, they're always afraid they're going to run out of time. Right? They're going to run out of time. That's how you can recognize a squirrel. I'll tell you what to do with those in a minute. On the other side of this are the elephants, and they're the giant ones. And they take a long time to close, and they're a pain in the butt to close, and you got to make all kinds of concessions. But when you close them, it's a big deal. A lot of money starts rolling in. And maybe you brag to your friends about it because it's a freaking marquee account, and you're glad to have it. The first thing that happens in the cycle of an elephant is that the first thing they'll do is go for scope creep, which means, hey, can you do this service for us at no extra charge? Hey, can you help us with this, but we're not going to pay you for it? And most of the time we're like, well, hell yeah, happy to. Because, hey, we got this client, want to keep them happy. What's a little extra work? Charging a lot anyway. Next thing that happens is you get a call at some point, 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years later, and they say, hey, man, I really love you. Love the relationship that we have. Right? And by the way, you've staffed up to take care of these people. You've had to do extra stuff. You've brought on other infrastructure, other people, because you got to keep them busy. You got to keep them happy. This is glorious. And you figure out pretty soon it's not as profitable as you hoped it would be, but it's keeping everybody paid. So that's good. Well, the next call you get from them says, hey, man, I really love you. Love the relationship where you're kissing our ass all the time. And we're just telling you what we need to have happen. That was in air quotes. They don't really say that. That's just what you hear. And then they say, here's the thing. We got a lot of pressure to cut costs. And, one of your competitors, actually the guy that we fired to hire you, he's come back in and you're charging us $1. He says he can do it for 75 cents. I'd rather work with you. Can you help? Can you take this? Do you mind? Can you help me with the pricing? Well, at this point, you got a choice, right? Feels like it. Either you say no and you lose the client, or you say sure and you cut all the margin out of your deal. Most people say sure and they cut all the margin out of their deal because they got to keep the infrastructure paid for, got to keep the people working. And now they're working 2-3 times as hard to keep these people happy. But you can't keep up. You're caught behind. And the next call you get from your client is, hey, you've really let things slide. You're fired. At that point, you're kind of screwed because you spent so much time servicing the elephant, you hadn't spent enough time going out finding new prospects. Oftentimes, your business will collapse, right, or get severely damaged when this thing. I want you to consider anybody that's more than, say, 20, maybe 25% of your revenue. I want you to consider them an elephant. I don't want you to fire them necessarily, but I want you to know that those are ones you have to dilute. Don't let yourself get sucked into those. Don't let them own you. The way they can not own you is to bring in more revenue from different sources. So let's talk about deer for a second. Deer are the ones that are right in your sweet spot, right? You can handle them very well with the infrastructure that you had. Let's pretend you had, I don't know, somewhere between 12 and, could be, depending on your business, 100 of them. You'd have a hell of a nice business. Maybe 12 to 25 is a better way. Again, depends upon your business. But 12 to 100, if you had those, you'd have a really, really nice business. Here's the thing, though. There need to be hundreds, if not thousands of them in your marketplace, all right? Lots of prospects. If you only have like 7 deer, then they're not really deer. They need to be lots in your marketplace. They need to be easy to find. Doesn't mean they're easy to close, but they're easy to find. They work within their realm that you have. They're appreciative of what you have. And it doesn't cost you a whole lot more money to take care of them. Here's the thing. I want you to assume, right, when you're going after a new client, well, first thing I want you to do is look at your existing book and divide them into squirrels, deer, and elephants. What does that look like, right? How many do you have in each one of those categories? And where do you need to focus? I would tell you your focus needs to be on bringing more deer in. I hope that your definition of deer is much bigger in 2 to 5 years. Hell, 1 year, hope it's bigger. But right now, it's where it is, right? And continue to add deer that way. Here's the trick, too. People are comfortable and are effective at referring you to people like themselves or smaller. So deer customers will refer you to other deer customers. Squirrels beget squirrels, beget squirrels, beget squirrels, right? So what I want you to do on your squirrels, and you love them and they need you, and sometimes you started with them, raise your prices. Raise your prices on the squirrels. Raise your prices 50% on the squirrels. What you'll find is that half your squirrels will leave. They'll go find some other place. The other half will be paying you more money. Those are the ones that value your time, value your energy, value what you do. They're still squirrels, but at least you're making more money and you have half the work you did before. The deer, I want you to take really good care of them. Best customer service. Ask for referrals to other people like them. And elephants, I want you just to recognize, right? And so if we look at 20 to 25% of your revenue, how can you bring in more deer? How can you bring in more deer to make sure that the elephant doesn't own you, to water it down? Now, again, I'm not saying don't go after elephants. They should always, maybe there should be some in your pipeline, but recognize them for what they are. Oh yeah, by the way, elephants won't refer. They don't think you can handle the extra business, and hell, maybe you can't. So homework for you is go grab your customer list and identify your customers as squirrels, deer, or elephants. See where you need to spend your time. Who do you need to be thanking? Who do you need to be calling and saying, hey, tell me something. Am I helping you? how, right? Here's how you want to find out what is it you're doing to help these dear customers. You need to know. Don't assume you know. Maybe twice a year, ask these 4 or 5 questions. Hey, tell me something. Am I helping you? Right? You may even begin with, this sounds like a stupid question, but tell me something. Am I helping you? The second question is, how? Right? This is a little bit of a dummy question, right? But I want you need to know this. How am I helping you? You say, well, hell yeah, you are. And you say, well, how? And they'll tell you something that may seem obvious to you, but I want you to say, man, I really appreciate that. And the third question is, this may sound like a dumb question, but is that a big deal? Right? At this point, someone will get emotional and explain to you why it's a big deal. Or they say, hell no, it's not a big deal. When do you want to know? Right? When do you want to know that they don't value what you're doing or that you're about to lose a customer? I would say as soon as possible. Right? So either you can fix it or be prepared for them to leave. Am I helping you? How? Is that a big deal? Right? What's one thing I need to stop doing? What's one thing I need to stop doing or do better that's bugging you that I need to know about to make sure that our relationship stays strong? So you need to know this too. Don't assume you know the answer to any of these questions. I want you to ask. A couple things happen. Number one, it will get you the truth. And do this before somebody leaves, right? I think these post-mortems after somebody's fired you, where you call and find out what happened, it's bullshit. They're giving you excuses. Find out before. And just your asking improves the relationship. And by the way, don't tell them what you're doing great or what you've done great. Ask them what they think. Remember, sales is never about you. It's always about them. Keeping an existing customer costs $1 versus $5 for getting a new one. Remember that. Look at where your customers are in the squirrels, deer, elephant range. All of them, perhaps, maybe just your deer and your elephants. Ask those 4 or 5 questions. Understand where they are. As we come to the end of the year and you're having to renew contracts or make sure people stay with you, or you want to prepare for next year, go through that exercise. I'm Walker McKay with No BS Sales. How about subscribe to this podcast, rate it, rank it, rate it, write a review, post it on social media, let other people know. And if you know someone else that needs to hear this, let me know. Thank you. Appreciate your listening. Go get it.
Thanks for listening to No BS Sales School podcast. If you haven't already, please take 1 minute to write a quick review for the show. It really does make a huge difference. Also, subscribe to the show and please forward this episode to somebody else who needs to hear it. As a bonus for listening, I'm going to give you access to a free mini course, 7 expensive sales mistakes you're making and what you can do about it. Go to www.7salesmistakes.com and get access to the free mini course. That's the number 7salesmistakes.com. Thanks again for listening to the No BS Sales School podcast.